What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo, presented as always by Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis. It is this weekend, this Saturday, 1 to 7 p.m., the Pure Options Back to School Block Party at the Frandor location. Live music, 2 Chainz, food trucks, vendors, the Maryland-Michigan State game at Maryland on the big screen there, so you can tailgate, enjoy it. Go to pureoptions.com to get your tickets. If you use the promo code BOGO, B-O-G-O, you can get buy one, get one free. So $20 to get you and a friend in. Also some VIP tickets available for $200, which is a sweet package. If you look at it, go to pureoptions.com, click on events. And our Monday afternoon show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. Hell yeah. GoMuskox.com, I think you know, is the website. It is like under 70 degrees here, 65 when I was up today. It is just beginning to be flannel weather, and there is nothing like the comfort of a buttery soft Muskox flannel. I'm telling you, as you start to think about gifts, as you start to think about your own comfort at football games and tailgates this fall, go to GoMuskox.com, and if you use the promo code FIXITINPOST, all one word, FIXITINPOST, you get $15 off your first flannel purchase. Fix It in Post at GoMuskox.com. Everybody should do what they can to experience this level of comfort that Muskox Flannels offers. GoMuskox.com. Jason, how you doing, brother? Caw, caw. Instead of boo, boo, caw. No? Oh,
what's up, buddy?
Are we there already with the coaches?
I was just wondering. I was playing it just because we're wondering. Are we caw-cawing yet? How much Pure Options am I going to need this Saturday against Maryland? I mean, just throwing it out there. I had to play it just to set the scene.
Yeah,
for everybody. We caw-cawing.
I don't think so yet. Obviously,
no.
It's
but it's fun to react.
Yeah, there were some things I thought Jonathan Smith did real well afterwards in explaining. I do like him as somebody who is not defensive about things. He sort of explains what's happening. He gets into some detail.
He doesn't look through you.
He doesn't look through you, which is a big one.
Yeah.
But he also is just willing to have a conversation about something. Like, it's not the end of the world if somebody made a mistake or if he made a mistake. He's not so defensive about it. He's not looking down at the people asking questions as if they're less than. Like, there's a real good approach to what he's doing, which is an important thing to have when you've got an offense that look like that. It helps not to be defensive. And so, yeah, we'll get into that with our hot takes and yours.
By the way, I'm happy that Muskox is back, so you can just say buttery soft to describe a flannel. It's my favorite. Because they're buttery soft.
No, I'm excited. I was looking through some of they got some great new fall flannel offerings. I've got my eye on a couple. Look, it's
time to do a fashion shoot again.
There's this plaid salmon flannel that it looks like it would look good on me. I have to run it by the wife because sometimes I'm like, I think that one would look good on me, and she's like, no, it's this one. So I do that first.
Do you really like it though?
What do you mean?
I mean, if you really like it, and she's like, you can't still get it. I mean, you look at it and you're like, man, I look really good in this.
I am trying to impress one person in this world.
Valid.
And it's my wife.
That's valid. Yeah.
So if I was like, yeah. First of all, single Graham wouldn't be this fat, but if I was like single and out, still, and I would pick my own flannel, sure. Yeah. But I let
divorced Graham, 30 pounds lost quickly, first day.
You know what I'm doing today? I'm wearing a pair of shorts that I call my punishment pants, and they're just
what? Your punishment pants?
Yeah. They're like the opposite of Muskox. They're a little too tight, just slightly. They're the size I'd like to be.
Yeah.
And they remind me that I need to lose weight. So I can wear them. I'm good. But you sit certain ways, they're just a little uncomfortable.
So if you get too comfortable, you go, they're just too tight. So you go,
God, yeah. There's this is a reminder that you need to keep working. Keep working on some things.
Just get a Muskox.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. There you go. All right. You want to dig into these hot takes?
Yes. And I will say that during the game, I didn't know. I wish that Firekeepers maybe had a line on like when the first time I was going to say college refs are ass on Twitter. And it took one play. Unbelievable. I mean, besides that play, though, Aidan Chiles should thank this Fancher kid for FAU. I mean, this quarterbacking, I know it's FAU, but what are we doing here? And Aidan Chiles, I love the kid. He's young. Why so many low percentage plays? That's what I would ask Jonathan Smith. On third down, why so many low percentage throws from Aidan Chiles? And why didn't we Lynch Adams was running his ass off. Jack Veiling, only one catch for 15 yards when your quarterback is struggling. I mean, that kid's huge, right? But I have to say, Graham, I felt like at halftime, I said, you know what? There's some good things to take away from this. And then the second half kind of happened, and I'm like, I don't know what to feel. I need to see some more stuff for Maryland. So I really don't know what's going to happen. I think that the over 4.5 wins is still good. I'm not panicking on that. But there was just a lot of curious things that happened in that game.
Yeah,
I would say curious.
This will be a telling week. Not that they need to beat Maryland. Maryland, it's hard to know.
Would be nice.
Maryland won huge against UConn. It's hard to know how bad UConn is. They might be just abysmal.
Bad.
But it'll be, you're playing a quarterback, a little more of a forward passer than they faced this last week, who's also pretty mobile.
But Lynch Adams, though, 63-yard TD, and we just doesn't see the ball. Like, I don't know.
Well, he ran it 9 times. Right. So if the MSU offense that we saw Friday night is the offense that exists all season,
please no.
They are in trouble. There is no question about that. They will not get to, if you didn't get it at 4.5, they might get to 5. But they will not get beyond 5 if that is the offense all season, I don't think. But I still think there is a chance they figure it out to some degree. Like you brought up Kyron Lynch Adams, right? Obviously, he showed some things. And Jonathan Smith in his press conference earlier today talked about that. And, I mean, he I asked him about the running game and the blocking up front specifically, and he was blunt. He said, it just wasn't good enough. But when he talked about the 2 running backs, it was very clear, like I'm starting to be able to read him through the tea leaves.
Already.
He talked about Lynch Adams. It was like, he really showed some things, did this, and then he said, Nathan Carter, when there was an opportunity, did okay. In other words, I don't think Nathan Carter had a ton of opportunities, but because the blocking wasn't great. But it's clear that Lynch Adams was the better running back. And you didn't get a coach who was defensive hiding from that. He was just sort of using code as he said it. It'll be interesting to see how those carries are parceled out going forward. I believe it was like 18-9 in the first game. I would expect this week they're much more 50-50. And so you get plus you're going to face a Big Ten defense. Now, I don't think Florida Atlantic's defense was that bad. We'll see going forward. Again, first games, you don't really know what you're facing. It might be a really good defense. It might not be. And you might be really horrible. But when we
talk about the first games, what we want to see, right, especially from Jonathan Smith, first-year head coach, is does the offensive line get pushed around? I don't think they really did. I really like what some things the defense did. I mean, the penalties, over 100 yards in penalties, I would have to fix that. But I thought they were aggressive, tackled in space, so I was happy with the defense.
No, the defense I thought was really promising for a couple reasons. I mean,
Angelo Gross, he was all over the place.
They did lose a couple guys to injury, which is a bit of a problem, including Dylan Tatum, maybe gone long term for a while, but the defense played with an aggression and sort of a layered approach to pressure, and had a number of defensive linemen show up and make big plays. They tackled pretty well in space. Yeah, they made some mistakes of aggression. You would rather come out of a game with like a bunch of defensive penalties for aggression, but they tackled well and they made the big stops when it mattered. You think about Michigan State's defense in the last couple of years. If that game had gotten that dicey with last year's defense, I don't think they win it. And they won it. And so, yes, is it going to when they play an offense that uses the forward pass? That will be a new challenge. And so we'll see that this week. But there was nothing about them that was a red flag. And if anything, I thought it was pretty promising. Now, that defense alone, though, is probably not this year going to be enough to win it. They're going to need to get the most out of this offense. You brought up the tight end position. I didn't think they used them enough. I didn't think they did a good job of getting Aidan Chiles in a rhythm and sort of giving him rhythm plays and rhythm throws. And he's also got to take what's there and lower his heart rate and not try to fit balls in between things that aren't there. They need Montori Foster to have a better game. And I know he was dinged up a little in the preseason. Maybe that was part of it. Jonathan Smith talked today about he actually thought the protection by the offensive line was okay. It just they didn't get any push running the ball. But we've seen that from MSU teams before. But at least that wasn't.
I mean, Lynch Adams was running the ball pretty decent, and they were blocking for him, right? I mean,
4th and 1.5, it didn't work out. I mean, he barely could take a step before he got hit. This will be a big game this week to see. I mean, it is for a lot of teams around the country, and we'll get in some others in a bit here. This will be a big game to see what's what. How bad are the struggles? Is it something that they can fix because the parts are there and they need Chiles to play better? And obviously he's still a young quarterback, but he'll be okay. Is it something where this defense is legitimately good? Like, these are things you sort of find out. And Maryland, by the way, opened at 7.5, already a 10-point favorite. People have a lot of faith in Maryland over Michigan State.
Double digits, all right.
It's a telling game. But yeah, no,
but, Aidan Chiles, you can sit there and harp on him, but it's his first start as a quarterback at Michigan State, right? He cut him a little bit of slack, but I agree with you. He was trying to do way too much. And a lot of young quarterbacks, obviously, the first thing they always tell them, throw the ball away, live to see another play. And that's what I always say with these quarterbacks. Just throw it away and let's get it back into the huddle and try something else,
And he comes out afterward and he sort of takes all the blame and said, it's me. The thing he's got to be a little careful on, and they're going to talk to him about this, is he's going to struggle again. And if all year he's just sort of down on himself, taking accountability for, he's just going to beat himself up. Like, he's still got to grow. He's just not that good yet.
Yeah.
And he might get there, and I think he's got all the tools and talent, but he's just got to, I don't know.
But what is he supposed to say after that?
No, he's trying to say the right things. He's trying to be, and this is the challenge of the NIL era a little bit. He even mentioned the idea that he's paid to play football. This is he does this for a living, I think he said. And you get guys who are making, 7 figures or close to it, and they're supposed to be this big deal quarterback. He was brought in, anointed the starter. It wasn't like last year. And so there is a pressure that comes with that. And when you're not ready to be that player yet, that's tricky. And that's going to be a struggle for programs and kids in development. And, but that position is always going to be paid. Like, the NFL is no different. Daniel Jones is making $40 million a year, right? And I would, that guy is not a good NFL quarterback. It's the way the position works. It's a priority position. You're going to get paid before you prove yourself some of the times. And I think for Chiles, he's just got to slow it down, keep his heart rate down, and they've got to help him every way they can. And if there's one good thing that came out of this is ultimate spin zone type stuff. But if there's one good thing that comes out of it, it's now the expectations are low for the offense.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like because until last week, there was this, even though I didn't think it would happen to this degree, you'd never know when you're going to have, and this is the column I wrote in the LSJ, sort of the magic bullet. You never know when, oh my goodness, like Kenneth Walker, 75 yards, play one. Where did that come? Whoa, this is different. You go way back to other eras. Cedric Irvin, 4 touchdowns in his debut when I was a teenager. Like, those sort of things where guys, all of a sudden, you're like, wow, this guy is something. Okay, this is, and you didn't have that from Aidan Chiles. Doesn't mean he won't be something, but he's as a true sophomore, 19, he was not that guy, and he's probably not going to be that guy this year. But he needs to play better, and because the offense can't. The offense need to take care of the ball in the red zone. Like, you lose as many games as you win. I mean, if they lost that game, a big part of that would have been the interception he had at the goal line. That was his fault, unlike the other one. And to this team's credit, that should have been a pick six. Would have been a pick six if Nathan Carter and Chiles didn't race their asses back to make sure, and stop that guy a little after midfield and give their defense a chance.
Do you think they played competent football?
Defensively, yeah, I thought they were.
So
really
as a
good.
whole, they didn't. In your eyes.
Well, I say 2 out of the 3 areas of the game. Although it was interesting today, Jonathan Smith did not think their coverage units. He thought they were great on that one play where they downed the ball, great, punting. Mm-hmm. Did not think their coverage units were all that good. Thought they were all over the place in lanes and not just the one long return. He just didn't think they were that good there. So I thought that special teams, I think they're going to be pretty good. Defensively was promising. We'll see when they face a more well-rounded offense. And offensively, I'd say it was a D+, C- performance. It was down there, and they did enough, but they were supposed to do enough. They were playing Florida Atlantic. Now, again, Florida Atlantic may wind up having a really good defense. I don't think Florida Atlantic's offense is going to be good enough to win a lot of games this year, but So
Fancher, I don't know. Do they have another quarterback? I don't know.
Yeah.
Kid's good on his feet, but he can't throw worth a shit. It's unbelievable. Do you think that they're going to change the targeting? Not for the calls, but kicking a player out after one?
Let's save that. We got some good hot takes on that.
Oh, sorry.
So we'll get into that because I do think that's a discussion that needs to be had. What is your second hot take?
You know what? There was a game that I was looking forward to, and it was Clemson, Georgia. And not for gambling reasons, because I wanted to see Mr. Dabo Swinney and his no transfer rule against Kirby Smart and the way to do the transfer portal. And we got a glimpse, and I think Dabo got a glimpse of what it's going to be like for his future if he wants to compete and make the college playoff. I think Dabo, obviously there's no way you can get rid of him, right? He just signed a contract extension. I mean, we've seen people get paid more money to go away, but I just don't think Clemson wants him to go away. But I think after this season, Dabo is going to sit there and go, you know what? You got to play the way the rules are in the current system. I know Tom Izzo tried doing it, and Dabo, I get it. It's impressive that you want to keep your morals and all this shit. But here's the thing, Dabo. They paid you a lot of money. Therefore, they want you to win. And if you have to go, and I know Roddy White said there's too many white guys, and he's probably right, but you have to change your mentality if you want to win. And all these guys are saying, Saban saying the same thing. So if you want to earn that, $8 million paycheck every year, you have to start getting some transfers. Yeah, the gap was way huge. Listen, Georgia's an unbelievable team. I don't want to give Clemson too much shit. Let's see what they do against App State this week. I think they're going to hammer them, so whatever the spread is on that. But after this season, I don't think he's going to stand firm on this.
It's just a weird position to take as firm as he had, because I don't think they've had a single transfer in since 2018 or something like that.
Zero.
Izzo has had some, yes, ideally he would like to have his program be a development program, guys he recruits. Right. But he's always brought in some transfers here and there. I mean, Tyson Walker was a transfer, Joey Hauser was a transfer, and now he's got a couple transfers, and Frankie Fiddler is going to be starting as a transfer. So it's never been to that degree. And in football, it's even more wild because you do lose some guys, and you can miss in a recruiting class and not have wideouts or not have it's even more pronounced in football. To not do it is
it's like showing up for some computer class with Windows XP. Like, it's just, what are we doing here?
It's kind of selfish, and it's kind of because you are a steward of that program, and you built that program, if you're Dabo Swinney, to the highest level. But the problem is, this is not your program. You don't own this program, and you have a chance to leave it or at least keep winning at a high level for a while, at a higher level, and you're choosing not to do that. And the evidence is pointing the other way, but. Yeah, no.
Clemson might be a good football team. Like I said, they played Georgia, which they're like a NFL team pretty much. But it's just like all that money coming in, donors don't. If they don't get any more transfers or do anything like that in the future, fans and donors are going to get like, what's up with this shit?
All right, my second hot take: Michigan football. Michigan's game against Texas, which I'm grateful they're playing, like a real schedule this year. I know they don't leave the state still, but Fresno State was a better non-conference opponent than anything they played in a while, and then Texas is for real. This will be incredibly telling. Like, I am locked in looking forward to this game because Michigan's own passing game looks like it also could keep the Wolverines south of their goals.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
And I understand their program is at a different place than Michigan State overall, and the defense is pretty good. And Donovan Edwards, I think he's a bigger name than he is talent as a running back. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he sees it that well. I don't think he's their best running back. We'll see what they decide to do at quarterback and where that goes. But when I watch Michigan's offense, I don't know that they're dominant everywhere else. They lost a ton up front on the offensive line to the NFL. They lose a ton on defense. I don't know that they're dominant enough to win with that passing game that I watched on Saturday night. And they're going to have to figure that out, or I really do believe what was the over-under was 9.5, 9 wins, I think it was. I think the under is in play when you start looking at their schedule. Again, we learn a lot about teams. If they come in and up front or defensively they control things and they're able to beat Texas, even though it's home, we'll have a different take, and that's why week one can be deceiving. But man,
what do you think of that spread though? Like it opened, I think it was like Michigan plus 6 and a hook.
Yeah,
Michigan at home with the way they can sometimes control the clock though.
I'm not taking it either way. I wouldn't.
You
take
just
it
want
either
to.
way.
It could go either way. I don't know.
I think it could be I think it could be a frustrating year for Michigan if their defense, and maybe their defense is dominant enough. But if their defense isn't truly dominant enough, I don't know. Like McCarthy was a good quarterback, and they didn't lean on him, but they had a lot of other guys around him. But he made a lot of big throws at big times, and that's what separates you in a lot of ways from being a good team to a great team and an elite team. And I don't know that they're going to have that this year. And not everybody looked good. Oregon didn't look very good. There are other teams that didn't look great. USC looked better than I thought. Like there are lots of things we learned and we don't know. Notre Dame's okay. Yeah, it's hard to know. With Texas A&M doesn't have a quarterback. I don't know why they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, but it was on the road first game.
No doubt. No, credit for playing that game for sure. What is your third hot take?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Lee.
I really thought this was I thought I was done playing this, our Gambling Tigers update with all this football on now, but do we ignore the Tigers?
No.
Gambling-wise here?
Well,
the Padres, the next three, and then you have the Athletics and the Rockies.
So this is why I would advise two things have happened with the Tigers. When we were trying to bet them, it was because they weren't fun. The Tigers, without a bet, to me, are fun right now. But the other thing I would advise people, this is why you take the over on the over-under season win bet. Because for me, I don't trust them other than when the Scooball's pitching. I don't trust them to.
Well, how can you?
Right. I mean, maybe a couple opponents again, you might trust them against. But I have this season-long bet. If they get to 79.5 wins, that I get to enjoy now. And if I had lost it, so what? I got to be in the fight, with the Tigers, so to speak, because of it. So it just adds a little element to it. It's fun to watch. It's fun because they're, the outside of the wild card hunt. I'm enjoying. I've watched more Tigers baseball in the last 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks than I have in a long time.
So it's technically meaningful baseball that they're playing right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though most likely they're not going to make the wild card, but
this is all wild. This is exactly what we wanted.
Well, it's exactly what we wanted last year.
Well, even
this kind of thing, momentum like this to go into this season.
But we wanted this kind of young core. Like all of a sudden, you can look at and there are some guys who may not pan out as great major leaguers, but there are a lot of guys. Parker Meadows on down, starting at the top of the lineup. You look at like 5 or 6, you're like, okay, those guys could be like mainstays in the lineup for years to come. And that's different. And they're young and they're figuring it out, and you're sort of figuring out what they can do, and they're going to have to make some decisions in this offseason. And yes, in this offseason they have to spend they have to. It would be malpractice not to give these young guys a veteran bat in the middle of the lineup. To me, in the offseason.
And I have one more little quick one about the FedEx Cup. By the way, I love watching golf, but they screw up this fucking playoff, the FedEx playoffs. I mean, I kind of like the way they do it, where you get a couple shots. If like Scotty Scheffler at the end of the year, they kind of prorate it like that. But to have it when football is on, you could have had this thing last weekend. I'm glued the whole time. But instead, you had to air it this week. And it's like with football on, you can't pay it to. I mean, Scheffler was going to win that thing no matter what. But please fix the FedEx Cup in this offseason. Have something different for your playoffs.
Yeah.
There's got to be a better way.
We get to this time of year, I got too much to put golf on the mind. Golf
I'm saying last week, hell yeah.
Yeah.
There's no football on. I would have watched wall to wall.
My third hot take, and this is a little discouraging for me. I'm watching college football games, Michigan, Fresno State, Michigan State, FAU, so on and so forth. All these mid-majors playing, some of them getting walloped, some of them somewhat competitive. But what you start to realize is in this new era that there aren't going to be the Western Michigans 2016s, the Boise States of 15 years ago. You aren't going to have these teams very often, I don't think, that are truly able to rise up and surprise people, that have oh my gosh, they got 2 or 3 2 or 3 pro receivers in the transfer portal era, because those guys are going to move on. And it takes an element of the game away. And to the point that I understand the financial structure of college football requires these matchups. This is how it works. Michigan State pays FAU a large amount of money. Last year they paid Central Michigan a large amount of money to bring Connor Stallions to the sidelines. This is how it works. You pay, and this is how they keep their programs afloat, and it's necessary. But it's not going to be competitive. It's going to be much closer to the days of the late 1980s when you had 120-person scholarships and there was a bigger gap between like the MAC and the Big Ten. And to me, if you're going to play these games, fine, but don't expect a lick of credit. As we go forward, if you lose to one of these teams, fucking explain yourself. Sorry for the language. But if it's just not going to be as competitive, and beating them deserves zero credit because you've already fleeced their roster. Jerry Kill, who was at New Mexico State, has taken a job as an analyst, I believe, at Vanderbilt. And he basically said in this era, he just was watching his roster get raked. And he was like, I don't want to do this. Like, it is impossible at that level to build a program that gets, the high-end players that go in and upset somebody, that make the fun stories, the App States of those years. And you may get occasional one. It's going to be so much less. You deserve so little credit now if you are a high major and you beat a mid-major. So little credit. And if you lose to them, you deserve to be tarred and feathered. That disparity sucks. And I think they should play less of them because it's not going to be the same level of football you've already taken from their roster. I don't want to see those games as much. And you should play more teams. If you're going to take from the best of those rosters and you're going to, go play people who are also more like-minded schools in terms of finances and roster. Anyway, I just started to watch that this week, and I just thought of that. There's just no ability to build a program at that level anymore, and that sucks.
Well, get a helmet because it's going to get worse and worse and worse, I guess.
Absolutely. Before we dig into our listener hot takes, quick announcement. September 14th. Less than 2 weeks, the day of the Prairie View A&M game. Speaking of games that probably shouldn't be happening. Michigan State hosting Prairie View A&M, 3:30 kickoff. We are having a Couch in the Rube live show at Midtown Brewing Company. We would love you to be there. We'll start about 11:30 a.m. You can come in at like 11 or whenever after, but we'll start the show about 11:30, go for an hour or so, and then you can go get to your tailgate or get onto the game or just stick around and watch football at Midtown Brewing Company, which is an awesome place to do that. You know how we feel about this place. You'll love the menu, beer selection. We'll have giveaways. We'll put Therese in her shop of child labor to work, and it'll be fun. So the last one was great. If you're going to be in town for the game, even if you're not going to the game, if you just want to come out and hang with us, we'd love to chat. The early start allows me to stick around for a little bit too. We can talk afterwards and stuff as well. I'm not going to be in some hurry to get off.
Bram loves to chat.
I do love to chat. Yeah. So that is September 14th, starting about 11 a.m. at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. All right, all of Fred Human. You ready to dig
Maybe
into
Fred
these
will be there.
Listener hot takes?
Yeah, let's do it. Eric Schultz up first, of course. Most concerning part of the game was the call to go for it in the fourth. FAU wasn't scoring twice. A field goal essentially ended the game. If Smith is going to succeed here, he can't not know what to do in such a basic situation. Can't happen. Bonus, you can't say this is what I expected Chiles would be and also tell people to take the over 5.5 wins, Graham. If this is who Chiles is, MSU isn't winning 6 games. Come on, man.
If this is who Chiles is all season, and it's not just, I think I was surprised. I was less surprised by Chiles' struggles than I was some of the other stuff. I thought they'd be.
I was surprised, though. Some of the throws were so.
They weren't great.
No.
They weren't great.
Like I said, on third down, it was.
Yeah, I thought Foster would be an impact player, just a more solid guy right away. But I was impressed by the defense, probably more so than I thought. And I think what Joe Rossi's doing there is a good approach. It's a fair criticism. I still think, like, when you start to look at the season and the getting the 6 wins, if they go 3, the Boston College game is probably going to be critical. And we'll find out a lot about Boston College. By the time some people listen to this, they play Monday night against Florida State. And the Maryland game may or may not go decently. But if they wind up 3-1 out of the September area going into that brutal stretch, and you see what happens against Iowa coming off a bye, who knows? And then you've got, if they somehow won that, you go 2-2 in November, and you're at 6 wins. So getting the 3-1 out of this first 4, I think is important to clearing a lot of the over-unders. If you have it at 4.5, you might be okay anyway. But getting the 3-1, I think, is important, and there has to be growth offensively. To your first point, Eric, that was the going forward on 4th down when a field goal would have ended it, would have been 19-10 and is at 16-10. The way that was going, it was a very Dan Campbell-like move. It drove me nuts. It drives me nuts when Campbell does it sometimes. And what was interesting is Campbell will sort of stand by it sometimes, and Jonathan Smith right away said, yeah, in hindsight it was a mistake, just trying to set a tone and all that. And I'll be curious if that becomes something that you're questioning here. The fact that he right away thought it was a mistake is interesting that they did it at all.
Mark Gamache next. The future Chiles could be the best quarterback ever at MSU, but that is a 3-win offense. No push from the O-line, no separation from the receivers. Carter looks like he's hesitant. Bad decisions from a freshman QB. They are who we thought they were.
In terms of who they were coming into the year, I thought they'd look a little better. I'll be honest, I did. I thought Chiles would be a little bit better than that. A lot of the elements of him, I wasn't surprised by, but I thought the line was surprisingly bad running the ball, even by Michigan State standards. I thought they'd be further along than that. And again, we didn't know what we were looking for, but they, you're
First
right.
game,
Yeah.
Skylar Verdon, hot take. Never seen a fan base more demoralized by a win. Listen, there was ugly points of that game. There was a lot of ugliness to that.
I don't think it was demoral. I think people were a little like,
But how could you be demoralized if what were you expecting?
Slightly deflated if you had high well, because I do think there was that. You always have that hope going into a season, and you're just hoping that Chiles is just this guy who's ready, and that's not
Let's
to be the case.
Let's see the Maryland game, I guess. Spartan Mike Graham, how do we explain the O-line being this lousy for this long? Coaches come and go, seasons change, and O-line is still pathetic. And bonus, Chet Lemon's story, sad as sad can be. What a family, though.
Yeah, if you haven't read Jeff Seidel's coverage, it's worth it in the Detroit Free Press of the '84 reunion the other day, and then going into that, the Chet Lemon story and what all he's dealing with.
It's sad, but at least he has the care, and it looks like his family's all there, like surrounding him. So he's like in good. Those stories you kind of see where the player's not doing well and in an apartment by himself. So
yeah, that's true.
The upside for that is different families around here.
Different deal. The offensive line thing is again, I don't know that a single coach is going to come in and change it that quickly, but at some point it has to turn, right? And I thought maybe this would be it. Maybe because they already had some guys who were kind of coming into their performance years, and
Jonathan Smith is like, I'm not a miracle worker. Like, I'm good with offensive line guys, but I can't just flip it all game one against FAU.
Tanner Miller did have that great block in the 63-yard run, and that was a great move. But no doubt, it was not for in terms of the push they got and their ability to run the ball. It was not great. I don't have an answer for you, Mike.
Captain Dumb next. Chiles being the worst part of the game is the best case scenario for MSU. We know his ceiling. We didn't know the defense ceiling, and they proved it's high. Chiles will improve, and his O-line and wide receiver will. Bonus, 28-17 MSU.
28-17 MSU against Maryland. If that happens, this show will be on. People will be just pure options will be flowing. Well, it'll be going either way. I think how it. But people will be
pure options is going to flow no matter what the outcome is.
People will have a natural high, only boosted by pure options. If I don't see 28-17 this week. I don't.
It's a hot take.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Munfield Keg, with all the Jay Johnson hate popping up on Twitter, let's save some for Scotty Hazelton as well. What have we been doing the last few years? How did we accept this as a program?
So in 2021, when they were winning games and they had the Kenneth Walker show, and I thought the defense, they played that bend but don't break way off, stuff, and I thought it worked to some degree. They seemed to be opportunistic. They, based on their personnel, they did what they had to do to survive, and I thought it got them to help get them to 10 wins. But and I don't think Hazelton is a bad defensive mind or anything like that. But his approach, his style of defense is certainly frustrating to watch at times, and did not work with what you need when you don't have immense talent. is you need guys who are playing fast and confident and coming at you in waves and using your depth. And I thought MSU did that. Again, they didn't face a quarterback or a passing game that's going to challenge them the way they will even starting this week against Maryland. So we'll find out a little more, but it was a much more visually pleasing defense to watch.
Sparty Ben next. Aidan Chiles will be fine. Brian Lindgren needs to get him into a rhythm. He took too many deep shots that had a small chance of being caught instead of letting him get settled in with intermediate routes.
No doubt. I mean, I agree here. I just think there's...
Did Smith talk about that today of why didn't you try to get Chiles in a rhythm?
I think he was asked about it. I'm trying to remember if he was exactly asked about that. But they're very aware that there are steps that need to be made. They didn't watch the game and go, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Good start. 1-0.
All set.
Yeah. Fans are happy. Bill McLeod next. MSU receivers need to get separation. There were some questionable decisions, but Chiles was throwing into tight windows all night. Bonus. The ref who blew the whistle from the sideline that nullified Lynch Adams' TD has some explaining to do.
That was weird. Like, I think I tweeted out after that run that was called is basically as forward progress had stopped, that if they had officiating like that, like half of Barry Sanders' yards would have been gone, because like he often looked stopped, and then it was really a quick whistle. And I felt good for Lynch Adams that he got the 63-yard touchdown later, that sort of you get your moment, and then it was probably fitting and good for that ref that they scored right after that with the Aidan Chiles run.
Alan Pearlstein, having your first score of the season be a safety is a good omen for the defense.
The defense looked really good. Ken Talley looked fantastic. Bogle, there were a number of guys. I mean, I thought they looked really good. Again, they weren't facing a modern full aerial attack, but they tackled well in space. They made big plays. They didn't, when they only had a 6-point lead to defend, they got it done. I think there were a lot of pluses to take away.
John next. The return for MSU on Friday night had a special meaning after last season. There was a renewed hope again. The crowd was good too. I was even falling off my aisle seat from a packed row. Michigan State's back then, I guess.
It was packed. It took a while because of the lightning delay. Like some of the early, I was like, boy, if they're doing aerial shots of this game, it's not going to work because the student section was so empty. But apparently it just had everything to do with getting all the students in there because of the lightning delay, which then meant, they usually let them in, an hour and a half before, and it was a lot closer, whatever it was. And maybe they should have better procedures to get in. But, it was good vibes.
DMB next. Number 1, the new stadium security procedures are ass.
Well, there we go.
40 minutes from start of the line to get to the seats.
Holy smokes.
2, every play to Montori Foster seems out of sync. And 3, Chiles taking responsibility, I play football for a living, is paradigm shifting.
So my mother went to the game with a friend, and I'll have to ask how long she would have told me if it took him 40 minutes. So maybe you need to go on a different gate.
I feel like you would have heard about that right away, right?
On our next day walk, yep, it would have been about, that would have been a half.
Because that is kind of crazy. 40 minutes where you just stand still, or?
That's too much.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be that way.
Rich Kane next. I came across this great Keith Jackson quote about college football. It's a game where a freshman in September comes out like a half-drunk stork, and when you see him in November, you have to take your hat off. What a quote. I'm going to try to keep this in mind in an attempt to temper my frustration. Watching Chiles develop this season, I realized Chiles isn't a freshman. Bonus, Big Ten hoop schedule should be 1 game versus each opponent for 17 games. Teams that want to play rivals a second time can play soccer-style derbies that don't count in the conference standings.
I actually really like this. If you want to have, and I know they play 20 games now, and I do like playing more good Big Ten games, but as things keep expanding, if you want to have the truest conference champion every year, and I know you're no longer playing a round robin where everybody's home and everybody's road, but the truest conference champion you could have at this point is just playing everybody once. And yeah, some years you'll catch a team on the road and they got to play them at home, and that sucks. It's not perfect. It's more perfect than the conference tournament, but it's not perfect. I don't hate this idea of 17 games, and you add a couple non-conference games, and maybe you do play Michigan in a non-conference game. Now, that would frustrate people in the Big Ten standings if you beat Michigan at home and then it doesn't count for as much. But I still think that would be worth doing, and that would not be a bad way to go.
Sunshine Spartan, number 1, Montori Foster should be cut. He was the reason for 2 of the turnovers Friday night. 2, Miami Hurricanes will be in the championship game. They were amazing. And 3, Michigan State will lose the next 2 games unless they learn how to stop a running quarterback.
I've got a great bet that I love that is I've got Miami. It's a parlay with Miami, Ohio State, Georgia. I think it might be just those 3. Maybe it's Oregon too, but I think it's in making the playoff. And Miami was the plus 200 was what made it better than even money, and quite a bit better than even money. And somebody else in there as well. But I loved it after watching what Miami did. I think, obviously they've blown it in the past, but they look for real. And in a 12-team playoff.
Did you see Florida's coach, Napier? He was trying to open a bottle of water. Dude, I couldn't stop watching that video because I'm like, how can you not just take it and wrench it, right? Like, you just put it back down. Like, that was a bigger defeat than the fucking game to me. It was like, all of a sudden, so you take an L, and then you get on the podium, and then you're like,
If the bottle is sweaty, you know what I mean? When the condensation on the outside, and your hands then get wet, and then you try to turn, sometimes it's not as easy as you think. I mean,
I disagree. That's impossible. Like, what do you have to have, like, butter on your hands or something to not?
But you've been there. Like, have you ever been in front of people where you had to do something and you were like, oh, my God, I'm going to screw. And once it starts going wrong, it just keeps going wrong.
Well, and that's when I get ridiculous strength, and I would be like, brah, because I'm so scared of, the judgmental people. So I'm like, I just snap it in half or something.
When I was officiating Andrew and Monica's wedding, like, there were a couple things that I was just like, I'm going to royally screw this up. And the biggest one, there was like a knot tying ceremony at the end.
Yes.
Oh my God! Like I like that morning, I woke my wife up. Like she leans out of the bed, and here I am with this like practice knot thing. I'm like, all right, here we go.
That's when I saw that. I'm like, damn, dude, Graham did a hell of a job. That was unbelievable.
I was so nervous, and I was like, this is
because that's someone's wedding, dude. It'll live in infamy or until they get divorced or whatever, right? But remember when Graham was doing that? It's just like, it's too much pressure.
Yeah, it was.
That was a good job by you, though.
Thank you.
Coach Z, next. You admitted last year you mostly lose gambling. Just last year we said that? Except supposedly soccer. But that is impossible to watch, so I can't confirm. You could do a George Costanza and pick the opposite, or the problem is you bet too many iffy games. So only pick up to 3 games for the whole year.
That's no fun.
Fucking Coach Z, thank you for that tip.
I'm actually on a really good run right now, and I didn't even want to talk about it because it's
over now.
Yeah. I had a bad run with the tennis, and then I got a good run going, and just a really good run in soccer. It was just, man, it
sounds like you've been picking too many iffy games.
You don't want to ever be picking, like, if you get to a point when you're on such a bad run that you start saying, I'm just going to take the opposite of what I'm thinking, you're in your head too much. You're never going to win. Yeah, stop immediately. And it
stops being fun.
Yeah, and I think over my lifetime I'm up. And I do this for fun. I mean, I'm not doing this to, obviously it's fun to get a little money once in a while, but it's also.
On one of the I was up 200 on one of the apps where I do a significant amount of the betting on, and I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. Like, all of those hours.
It's the
looking up stuff, watching hours and hours of games, and then you just see $189 profit. And so you're like, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Today's a good day.
It's not about the money. It's about the feeling of winning. It's about having a stake in it. It's all it is.
Yes.
It's if you do this to make money, I mean, there are people who do that for a living, and bless them, and you got to be really disciplined. And but I am not that person, and so I just enjoy the process.
Professor, next. Number 1, Big Ten Network zooms in way too close on the action when showing football games. Hard to watch football if you can't see more than an 8-yard section of the field. 2, the sound volume at Spartan Stadium is way too loud. And 3, MSU is going to be all right. 7 wins incoming.
The sound, I've heard people complain about this for a couple of years here. I'm going to have to ask about this because it does seem to be an issue. I know the mic wasn't working on the official for a while too, which was frustrating. But the more and more people, again, I'll ask my mother. She is the great, if she hasn't complained about it yet, and maybe
she's ramping up for it.
Yeah,
after the show,
could be today's walk. Who knows? Yeah.
Andrews, Louise, I heard some shit went down in the press box. Really?
Whoa.
Bonus.
What kind of shit? Well, you need to elaborate. What kind of shit?
Well, I think he was thinking that you would know. Bonus, NFL plays 17 games to get into the playoffs. In college football, it's about a 3 to 4 game season to get in.
It's a good way of putting it. It is, and you think about the top teams. Now, for some of the teams that just get in, it's not like that. But for the top teams, it's how they do in 3 or 4 games, and really, if you can win, you only have to win 10 anyway.
But those 3 to 4 games, I mean, are we underestimating how big those games are?
Well, they're epic and they're fun.
That's what I mean.
No,
you're going 4 hardcore games.
I'm okay with the system right now. My big things is you need to play no more than 7 home games, and you really ought to play 5 true road games. And if you're not doing those things, you're kind of cheating. That's my general thought.
So
nothing the system a little bit.
Nothing went down in the press box from your vantage point.
I mean, that would be a fun story. I
feel like Graham would have texted me if something did happen.
It would have been. I mean, I sit next to. I mean, Solari was all over me, but otherwise, like I get there and Solari gets there like 4 o'clock. I get there, 5:30, and already he's spread out like into my area completely with he's got
binoculars.
Binoculars. He's got a pretzel and cheese. He's got everything. He got his million pens out, and I'm like, what the, Jesus. And and then he likes it in my lap almost when he's like looking at his binoculars over things. Like, oh my God, it's But other than that,
I know what that's about though, because you just want everything set up, and then so you feel comfortable.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Solari likes to have he's got different color pens, but if everything,
what, like just obviously different categories of shit, or
it's a good
we
question.
need a picture of this chart.
I will take a picture of next week in Maryland and
deal
and send it out for sure.
DeUper, Kyron Lynch Adams has to be the featured running back. I'm sure Nate Carter is a great guy and has very kind eyes, but KLA has better vision, can find seams, more shiftiness, make people miss, and can better run through tackles. This isn't a first game flash in the pan. Check UMass. Check the UMass film.
He looked good, and sometimes you can just see it. And again, you want to watch another week before you.
How much UMass film I got to watch though?
A couple games.
Game?
You should see it
first half.
Again, this week will be interesting to see how the carries are dispersed and if it looks the same. But week 1, I think that was a clear takeaway. I think Jonathan Smith said it today. I think anybody who watched that game, because it wasn't just the 63-yard run. Nate Carter might have. That 63-yard run was a massive hole up the middle. Like Nate Carter may have scored that touchdown too, and then we would have a little bit of a different feel about this if you think of it that way. But it was some of the other runs as well that I just thought he was a little more eluding of the defense, and so we'll see where that goes this week.
Tom Lizzo next. Sam Levitt was extremely impressive in his debut, and I feel the fan base isn't going to be patient enough with Chiles when they see Levitt already performing. One difference is they had Levitt run. Chiles needs to use his legs more.
So we may have to work with pure options. If Sam Levitt becomes like a Heisman candidate, and Aidan Chiles just
after one game
becomes a solid. I'm talking in his career, and Aidan Chiles just becomes like the solid guy, and it's fine. But Levitt's like this dude that they had in the program, and
but Chiles is he's 18.
So I'm not knocking. It's I don't think. Look,
the FAU game.
I think they handled the recruiting purposes of the recruiting process really well, considering what they were looking at. They were faced with this Sam Levitt, who had been in Oregon, like an hour from Oregon State, had not been recruited by Jonathan Smith. Instead, they had chosen Chiles. So Levitt was not going to play for Smith. That was just not going to happen. And so they did a great job building a quarterback room. And Chiles is a guy he'd already recruited, who I think still got a big upside. But what I'm saying is, if Levitt's really, really good and winds up having it'll always be something. And I think at that point, it's just one of those things that'll require a little pure options to get through. Maybe we'll get a little code, a pure options Levitt code is. No, I'm just trying here.
What's the Muskox code again?
Fix it. Fix it in post. Fix it in post. All one word. Go Muskox.com. Fix it in post. Yeah.
Spartan 18770. The most important thing I saw Friday night, the return of the Spartan dog attitude, especially by the D-line. I missed you, old friend. And bonus, any football program that plays on artificial turf is an unserious program. Seeing that green field is college football.
I prefer the grass, but I know it's expensive, so a lot of places don't want to do it.
Oh, that's where you cut it? That's where you cut the money funding? Well, how much could it cost?
It costs a lot to keep that grass up. We're
talking about $1 billion industry here.
It's not. That's such a. Yeah, but just use some of your billions, you know.
Yeah. Where's Pete Secchia?
Yeah, that's. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll get into many more of your hot takes on MSU, Michigan, some other things coming up as well. Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options, Precision Crafted Cannabis, and our Monday show, brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. Mention Couch the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a Pro Grow 8th with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeeper's Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes Couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch and the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options, Precision Crafted Cannabis, with awesome first-time buyer, first-time customer deals, and a great Pure Perks loyalty program. I really enjoy this. Go to pureoptions.com, sign up for the program. You'll know when the deals, you can tailor your Pure Options experience just for you. Again, pureoptions.com, also location information, Lansing throughout the state. And our Monday afternoon show, also presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. Great new fall offerings out. Go to gomuskox.com. And if you use the promo code FIXITINPOST, all one word, FIXITINPOST, you'll get $15 off your first flannel purchase. More hot takes.
Andrew Zuiza has given us an update in the YouTube chat here. He said Robbie Listella posted a video on Twitter of someone in the press box yelling, "Don't do this to me, don't do this to me," during a child's throw. Then he posted he thought the guy was hammered.
So
in the press box.
I did see this from Robbie, and I need to reach out to Robbie because we had Robbie on last week.
The Robbie. Okay.
Yeah, the Robbie. There was some cheering. The Robbie. Let's just call him that from now on. Hey, the Robbie. There was some cheering in the press box, and I think what happens in a lot of these places is, he was on the other side. So there's a home side and a visitor side. When they don't have a lot of, and I'm not sure this week, when they don't have a lot of visiting media for a place like Florida Atlantic. Some of the seats over there might have been occupied by like donors, or there might have been some people over there who were more of the fan variety. And they also have suites that are upstairs. Like Steve Smith's suite is right next to the home press area, and so you hear people sometimes cheering in big moments there and stuff. They're not technically in the press box. They're in sort of the press area, but they're in their own suites. It's on the same level. So I wonder if he's heard something like that was actually as a fan in a suite, or if there were some fans over on their side. That was not over. The way the Spartan press box is set up, the Spartan Stadium press box is set up, it's huge, and there are two big sides, and you only go to the other side to get food. So I do go over there once in a while to get food naturally. But yeah,
all right,
yeah. So
we figured it out, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Jebediah 4-8 is a mortal lock for MSU. This team with 60 new players needs too much time to gel, and the October gauntlet will prevent this from happening. Bonus, outside of a few run plays that actually worked, I didn't see a stark difference between this offense and a JJ offense. Hopefully they were just keeping it vanilla for a vanilla opponent.
I do think I would think there's some things they didn't want to show, but they also wanted to win the game. So it's 4-8 is a mortal lock for MSU. I don't. Again, just think about the schedule a little bit and think about who else is there. Everything's relative to who you play. I mean, Prairie View A&M, Jebediah, the whole crew here. We get together. Eric Schultz, David Jackson. We could all get together and then put me and Jason, and that could be the offensive line, and they're going to win that game. Okay, that is not a competitive game. So that's 2 wins, and then so you're saying there's no chance they win 3 more games between Boston College. And let's say they lose to Maryland. Boston College, Iowa, Indiana, Purdue, Illinois, Rutgers. Am I missing somebody? I think there's still a chance. And some of these teams didn't look that great themselves.
Ryan Rockwell, number 1. The defense is this MSU's team's strength, and that's not a good thing. 2, the penalties on D and lack of cohesion on offense had echoes of the previous regime. Not good. And 3, the postgame show on 94.9 somehow has more commercials than the actual game. Unlistenable.
Yeah, if you're like driving home trying to listen to the post game, it's not.
Isn't that where they dump all the
put all the
make
ads,
goods and all the things they have to do? That's been that way forever, though, right?
It's tough. The problem is the game now is just it's got so many breaks. It's brutal. The penalties. Let's see if that becomes a thing. Like a lot of them, if you take away the sliding, targeting, penalties. If you take that element, which not every team presents, would you feel the same way? And that's what I don't know. Maybe we would, but I'm curious to see if they get that fixed. Jonathan Smith talked about that today and the idea, and we're going to have more people getting into this the sliding thing. But because of the way you can't hit people in the head anymore and the way you want to tackle, you teach your guys to go low. I still remember watching Pat Narduzzi work with guys back in the day, like lower, and they just the tackle at the legs. And he said, so do that. You drop down, and if the last second a guy then slides, you're going to hit him in the head. Like, that's the problem. That's what you're teaching guys to do. So it is an issue they need to
And in slow-mo, it looks like, it looks different. But when it's a bang-bang play, when a guy all of a sudden slides out of nowhere, your momentum's going. That's what I mean. Like, we have to give a little bit more leeway before we just start chucking kids out of games. Jeff Peterson, number 1, if he stays through his junior season, Chiles will contend for the Heisman. 2, that being said, the most valuable player on this team may be his backup. And 3, those that took the under will be sitting pretty come November.
Hey, just like the Tigers, might be a good sweat, a good sweat for those who have the over.
After one game.
We'll see.
They did win that game, though, right?
They did win.
Against FAU?
They did win that game.
All right.
Yeah.
Making sure. S.J. Davidson, number 1, MSU defense will finish in the top 50 nationally. Douse makes folks forget about D. Harmon. And 2, we already forgot about Simeon, what's-his-name? Baked. Graham will finally remember Caton Hauser quarterback last year's team, since he can remember the 8th game from MSU basketball 2004 season. Love you, Couch.
This is one of my challenges is I have all these random things I remember from random years, and like last year or last week become issues. I don't know if that's a good memory thing. Maybe I need to check into like one of those memory places. I don't know.
Memory places?
Whatever it is, where they have
memory homes,
where they have memory care, retirement homes.
Alzheimer's, you mean?
No, well, you have memory care late in life. Maybe I'm going to need that. I'm a little concerned.
All right.
The defensive line was, I think, the highlight And the way they tackled in space everywhere, but the defensive line was the highlight of the game, for sure, and the approach they took defensively.
Travis Maynard. I shouldn't have to rage post that Lynch Adams should be getting more touches, but I was. He was far and away the best option, arguably the best player on the field. Am I blind? Is Coach Smith blind?
He was the best running back in this game, and I don't think there's any question about it. It'll be interesting to see. And obviously they watched all of fall camp, and they came to the conclusion that Nate Carter was going to be the starter. He's also a captain. I think there's some things you got to be a little delicate there. But Lynch Adams is your best running back. You're going to go with him over time, and that'll play itself out. They're not.
That's what I was about to ask. Yeah. I mean, give equal carries to kind of appease players, right? Sometimes,
and maybe they're just playing some, being a little
games like that,
being a little coy here. Maybe they know what they have in Lynch Adams, and they're hoping to hide that a little bit.
Could we not be so coy though? Do we have to be that coy?
Yeah, probably not being coy.
I had a few things. Travis and Oasis Dog 97 with the same take, apparently. The slide rule needs revision within 5 yards. While well-intended, it creates more dangerous situations for everyone. Defenders awkwardly avoiding the quarterback, often having to leap over them. It also brings the quarterback's head lower by default, creating an at-target for targeting. Bonus from Oasis Dog here. You should get one warning for your helmet coming off, then it becomes unsportsmanlike conduct.
So
he's right.
To the point, yeah. I mean, to the point, though, of the slide rule needs revision. It 100% needs revision. Otherwise, running back should start doing it. Because half the time, yeah, you're giving yourself up early. Right. But why not collect the extra 15 yards some of the time, And
hey, can you guys slide?
And it can't be just a quarterback thing, because that Cam Fancher was not a quarterback. Like, you have to be able to throw the ball to be a quarterback. You can't, just because you're taking the snaps does not make you a quarterback. You have to be able to throw the ball. So he was essentially Nathan Carter. That's all he was, and so he needs to. I totally agree with this. I think they need to figure out a way. I did like, though, that this rule and the way it's officiated did help Michigan State win the game, because at the end, when you had what was going to be a targeting call, and then also a was it unsportsmanlike conduct, whatever it was, like 30 yards beyond when Florida Atlantic was going for it on fourth down at the end of the game, and the penalty still existed for Michigan State, but the turnover happened before the penalties, because the second that quarterback begins to give himself up, the play is down and the ball is flipped. So that's where it does bite you. Whereas if he had gone head first, they would have kept the ball. But by sliding, Michigan State got the ball, and that helped them win the game. So there was some justice in sort of the way that whole thing was officiated. But I agree, they do need to look at it. You got to,
But how long have you watched football, right? You've watched football a long time. So in a replay, you can see if a defender is being malicious. And I think if you could see that, then you could throw him out on the first offense. But I feel you have to give, with so many bang plays, you have to give at least a warning. Got
to be common sense. If you give yourself up, like, it can't be that, but when you look at the film, you ought to be able to say, look, this guy clearly was already in his motion. If the defender is already in his motion, it should not be targeting or whatever, because you came down to that level. If we're going to be that irrational in how we officiate this, then let's do what I've been saying all the time. Let's start every QB sneak, quarterback thrown out, targeting. That was head first. Leading with your head, you ass. No. Like, if we're going to do letter of the law bullshit, then throw out every quarterback and running back who leads with their head.
And get rid of the slow motion replay the refs are looking at under the hood there, because I think anything can look in slow motion like it's intentional or something like that.
You need to
watch a bang play.
When and how did they go into there, especially on the slides? When did the defender begin to go into the act of tackling? And if they're already moving toward it,
I just think you can tell if you're a football person and you've watched a lot of football, you could tell by watching it.
It's like being an umpire. You ought to be able to see 100 out of 100 times just on at first base when there's a ball coming to a glove and a foot coming. You ought to hear and feel the boom boom, and know the difference, safe and out. And it should be the same as an official on the field watching that play.
Suburban Spartan Dad, did we know Ken Talley was going to be this impactful, or was everyone as pleasantly surprised as I was?
He's the one. I asked Jonathan Smith specifically about this today, about the defensive line and guys who stood out, and he brought up Ken Talley and the plays that he made. I didn't know he was going to be this good. He was fantastic. I thought some other guys were really good too, but Talley stood out, and that's a big deal. Former, the guy that was briefly at Penn State.
C-Dubs 91, number one, he was no JT Barrett, but MSU being able to contain a mobile quarterback was extremely promising. If the front seven can have a repeat performance this week, then they will win 8 games. 2, college football needs to adopt a similar TV timeout model as basketball. Have an under 8 TV timeout each quarter on a possession change, plus the 2-minute warning. Hell, even add a minute to each break to maintain ad revenue. Anything to help keep a little more flow in the game.
So here's a question for you. Would you prefer, so instead of going to commercial at the end of drives, but sometimes the drive's only 3 plays, so it's constant. It's too much.
Right.
Would you prefer, in the middle of a drive, they're going to go to break, and then sometimes after touchdowns, they're not. It's set, like basketball, under 4 timeout or whatever it might be. Would you prefer that? Where, you could be at the 50-yard line 3 plays into a drive, and you get to the 7-minute mark of the second quarter, so there's a timeout. And
yeah, I don't think I like it.
I don't know yet.
I don't think I would. Yeah, I'd have to see it, but yeah, I don't think I would like under 7 timeouts or something like that. But
the timeouts are too long. They're too much. I mean, it's just not a good. I can't imagine.
But with the momentum, I feel like if you're the team that has the ball and you have momentum going, all of a sudden you're just taking a break, an under 7-minute break or something. I just don't know if it would work out, but
yeah, it's
a good idea.
I do think this is where people's heads need to be, though. There needs to be more creativity in how they do the ads, and instead of going to break, do the split screens or do a box around it. Ad people need to be more creative. They do this in soccer. They can do it. They just need to find ways not to make it the game stop for so long, so often. The story I want to do is on the guy who wears the red, the official who comes on for every TV timeout, who is the most hated man in the stadium, and what that's like, because he must know he's hated. Nobody wants to be that hated in life, and because I hate him. I'm sure you guys do too.
Do you know his name?
It's a different person every time. But
do you know one person's name?
I don't, but yeah. I just know I hate that man.
Most hated. Shep, Coach Prime is the modern-day John L. Smith. Some flashy offensive pieces paired with a poor offensive line play. Tries to win every game 45-40. Horrible defense. And most importantly, amazingly undisciplined with huge penalties and mental mistakes at high-leverage moments. Watching that Colorado NDSU game gave me PTSD. Bonus. I subscribe to the LSJ on Saturday, Graham, solely because of you. Tell your boss.
Appreciate you, Shep. Nothing makes me feel warmer. Well, actually,
you tell his boss.
Yeah.
Stephanie Angel, right?
Yeah. Nothing makes me feel warmer than this.
By the way, hey, Stephanie, by the way, a guy subscribed because of me. He told me to tell you.
You're like, how do you do that? You know what I mean?
No, the best things you can do is you can subscribe to the LSJ. You can listen to our show. You can buy a Muskox flannel. You can shop at Pure Options. You can join us at Midtown Brewing Company next on the 14th. You can go to the tailgate this week at Pure Options.
Full circle.
And again, it's if you go to gomuskox.com, start looking at the fall flannel offerings, and when you make your purchase, fix it in post. We'll get you $15 off your flannel purchase.
Joe Naughty next. In my opinion, Michigan hired Sharon Moore to take the fall. He doesn't even have a real contract. They all know they cheated and couldn't hire a real outside coach for $100 million or whatever with a buyout clause. 11 months before NCAA sanctions, and Moore had no other viable options.
So this is an interesting take by John.
It's a great take.
The idea that, and look, I think they were going to go to him because he was the interim coach or temporary coach when Harbaugh had been suspended last year. He had been a successful assistant on the most successful team they'd ever really had, right? So I think it makes sense to hire him.
But a little of both could be true, though, right?
I mean, I think Michigan has learned one thing during the whole Harbaugh era, before the Harbaugh era, I should say, how hard it is to get this right. Right? It didn't happen with Brady Hoke. It didn't happen with what's his nuts? Came from West Virginia. Oh, fuck me. Give me some Hoff.
Bo Schembechler.
Rich Rodriguez. Jeez. That was painful. Rich Rod. Anyway, it's difficult to do. And you have a program that's working. You have a staff that's working. I know they're new guys. You're trying to keep continuity in what you have going. So I think that is much more it. But I don't mind the conspiratorial thought here. And certainly if there is a fall, I don't know that they see him that way. I think this was I see where your head is. and I appreciate the thought, but I do think that they have screwed this up enough that keeping it within the Harbaugh framework is what they were trying
But
to
Sharon
do.
Moore checks boxes, and you could have him take the fall. So for Michigan, it's a win-win, I guess. Stephen Douglas, number one, I have true empathy for Wyoming fans. Watching that game triggered PTSD. 2, Chiles getting a taste of humility isn't a bad thing. And 3, some of the play calling and game decisions are giving me yellow flags. Hopefully just the first game issues.
The what happened to Wyoming?
They got their ass beat, and
Oh,
they
did
were
they?
+7 and a hook.
Okay.
And it ruined one of my parlays. And
Oh,
I
sorry.
might have to bet against Wyoming this year.
Spite bet all the way.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, the Chiles. Yeah, I mean, I look. I do think humility is not a bad thing for Chiles. Not that I mean, look, I think Chiles is a pretty level-headed kid for the most part. But there's no way if you're 18 turning 19 and you're getting paid like he is, and you've been propped up like he has. And he's talked about this. Like, you know, it takes. Like he's grateful for his parents, and I think his parents are not people who prop him up. You know, like they're real parents, and they're. I think he's got some of that in his life, which is good. And yeah, it is healthy. It's always healthy to have humility, as long as you don't lose your confidence. I think that's the big thing.
Dang it, Bobby 22. Number one, the receivers need to create more separation. It was pretty rare that Chiles had open looks. And 2, MSU will cover Maryland -9, no problem. Bet the house.
I would not advise betting the house on this. But if
you like it that much, you got to sprinkle though.
You do have to sprinkle.
+9.
Yeah. It's up to 10 too. I don't know it'll go much higher than that. So if you see it around 10, it's probably safe to grab. But you should see it around 10 most places.
Rich Searing. Now that we've seen this team in action, can all the hype please stop? There is talent, but the offense is not gelled yet. Chiles is very young and inexperienced, and it shows. O-line still isn't great. Defense still has some issues to shore up. What did you like, Rich? Did you like anything? Defense still has some issues to shore up, but promising. I would still be happy with a bowl berth. 2, Gates and Marsh need more playing time. Foster needs to grow better hands. Bonus, the collected works of Chad Latz should be made available somewhere on your Facebook page or something. I need more than the little sound bites that Jason provides. We can follow him on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm dreaming. I'm
mean like this?
guided to another world, time and time again.
Come on.
Anyway.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
What are we supposed to do? Put Chad, like all of his greatest hits on our Facebook page?
we could. I mean,
Might be able to do that.
It actually could-
Just
could
follow
happen.
him on Facebook. I mean,
Chad's an interesting guy to get a hold of sometimes, though. Like I don't know how this logistically.
dude, you ain't lying.
Yeah.
You are not lying. Pablo Ciccone next. The Lansing Shuffle is solid. Went on a date night down there this weekend. Was told we could walk to the Wing Festival from there, so we tried. Had to cross a bridge, then jump a fence to get in. A security man drove up on his golf cart and was a complete dickhead. Screw that guy. Yes, we jumped the fence with drinks in our hands, but he didn't even suggest what we do to gain entrance to said event. 0 out of 10, Wingfest Lansing 2024. So let me get this straight. You climbed over a fence and you're mad at the security guard whose sole job it is to keep people from climbing over the fence.
But there didn't seem to be an obvious way in. Is his point?
How many drinks have you had? There wasn't an obvious way in. Don't you just walk around until was it over? Must have been in that park.
It's a very Lansing tweet, so I respect
Yeah, it
Pablo
is.
for this. I
do love it, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Get mad at the security guard. I mean, the festival shit because they had a security guard.
Well,
I don't know.
no, but if you don't have another way in, an obvious way in, and obviously there was some logistical. As a logistics guy, there's some logistical issues with getting from Lansing Shuffle, which is awesome, by the way. It's Lansing Shuffle's in what used to be the old city market, in downtown Lansing. It's great, lots of different vendors, cool
fun.
spot, good spot, good place. Yeah.
Company man next. Number one, music festivals swallowing up entire downtowns of a smaller city and town should be free for residents. Looking at you, Arts, Beats, and Eats.
Where is that?
Ann Arbor.
Was it?
2,
Okay.
Michigan football's sentence should be their cut of the new TV deal and spread it out to all Big Ten teams afflicted by their treachery. And Baked, B-Bag.
Oh, just should be bags. Sorry, I fucked this up.
Bag policies are communist ass.
Well, you got to have some sort of. You can't have people bringing in massive bags and I'm here with my sleeping bag, and I'm here with
Trying to squeeze everything in there.
Yeah, but it does take a while to get people through the. And if people don't realize it and they show up and they got to go all the way back to their car, it's nasty. Yeah.
G Quang next. When do you release the college refs are ass shirt? I needed one last game. Oh, we might have some.
Maybe
actually, I might have a few laying around.
Maybe might have them for the Midtown Brewing Company live show. We'll see if we can get that together. That would be
we'll have a couple
September 14th. So come to Midtown.
Well, not
Brewing
everybody
Company.
wants to wear a college refs are ass shirt, even though they know that college refs are ass. But this is kind of a.
I got my wife a shirt the other day that she wanted so bad. This is one thing I love about my wife, and it's not a shirt. I don't think she'll wear it out, but it's hold on, let me find this. Give me some Hoff in 1 second.
Playing Hoff to find the wife's shirt.
I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, the bright and hollow sky. You know it looks so good tonight.
I don't know. I do hear your voice in my head when I take a shit. It's basically it features the word the CUNT word.
Whoa.
Yeah, and my wife loves that word.
What?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's great. She hates certain words. Can't stand certain words.
Moist. I know
Hates
she
moist. Hates panties. Hates lovers. Those 3 words. Like if she was listening to this right now, she would just slam her phone down. She hates those words. But
would she call the phone a cunt?
Not so much. What's that?
Oh, would she call the phone a cunt as she slammed it down?
Something like that. Yeah. It's a T-shirt with a saying on it that include that.
Every lady that I've ever dated, now married to, has always despised that word.
Yeah,
so it's kind of weird hearing that.
Absolutely, it's like the total opposite.
So you bought her a shirt that says that?
Well, she asked for she had been at a girls' weekend.
Is she gonna wear it out?
I don't think so. But she had been at maybe certain places with certain friends, like a backyard gathering
Midtown,
with certain friends.
September 14th.
Yeah, but probably not.
You wear that.
She's actually going to be at another girls' weekend. But she was at a girls' weekend where they did this gag gifting where they each got each other like gag T-shirts. And she got another one, which is fine. But the other person was nervous about giving it to her. She was like, I don't know how you'd feel about this. And she was like, oh, my God, I would have loved that.
Here's a cunt shirt.
So then I bought it for our anniversary for her.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. That's a
story we're
telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing, where, again, you can go for any occasion, be it trivia, be it date night, be it brunch on Sundays, but also September 14th for the Couch and the Rube live show.
By the way, that will be the next punishment for the bet, though, that you have to wear that shirt on camera that says cunt. Not hers, because it won't fit, obviously, but we'll get you one that says cunt.
How many times are we going to use that word on it?
You have to wear it. You're the one that brought it up.
I know, but I didn't say it. I spelled it, which isn't
I'm
saying
not going to say C word. Sorry. I'm saying it could be the next bet that you have to wear it a whole show. That's all. Some dude, if you don't like the result of Scum's football season last year, I have something for you. Ironically, I got this from their athletic department and fan base. Every single time they have a scandal, they ignore it and pretend that it didn't happen. So I just do that. It's great. It helps if you don't watch their games and don't have to listen to Fox Sports slurping up on them.
If you can do this mentally, if you can do this gymnastics and just pretend it didn't happen, it's probably the best way with any rival or any result in life you don't like. If you ask a girl out and she says no, just pretend it didn't happen. Just move on. Move on. Oh, I found the shirt. I'm not a gynecologist, but I know a CUNT when I see one.
Way to spell it out.
You're welcome.
Gorham, volleyball dad, best. I don't know what that word is. Larshimost is a New York Times writer's word. No shame in not knowing it. The biggest issue is how badly you responded to the question. You weren't in the ballpark. Yeah, and baked, Aston Villa versus Young Boys of Atlanta at the Wankdorf will be the best Champions League match.
I was excited to see this. We if we could, we'd go over there and tailgate it but yeah, we will hype this up. Aston Villa versus Jason's Young Boys.
What the fuck? No, it's not my team.
The Young Boys are your team.
All right.
How are Young Boys not your team? You always ask about them.
I just was asking about it. I was trying to contribute to the soccer segments.
You have a lot of curiosity about the Young Boys, and that's understandable.
I don't coach Young Boys soccer teams when you don't have a child. Metsy, 1. Got to love the system we landed on where Chiles gets paid $1 million to look like Andrew Maxwell out there. Sobering reality, he's going to need some time and not be the 8-win cheat code I had hoped for. 2. MSU loses that game if still played its 2023 defensive scheme. Rossi is a huge upgrade. 3, man, Hearing Smith actually break down plays and moments in the game must have been a writer-gasm for you guys. Amazing to get actual substance from a coach these days. I know it was refreshing as a fan.
I have enjoyed his early on. I didn't know if he wasn't going to give a lot, and it didn't. It wasn't. They weren't bad. It just wasn't standing out. But in season so far, I've enjoyed the 2 press conferences quite a bit. I just think.
You mean better than this guy?
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
Yeah, it's he's just much more engaged, and Tucker could be engaged. I don't want to shit on Tucker completely, and we'll see if things get, if they're 0-8 or if 2 years from now they're supposed to be good and they're not, and how things feel different. But he does seem to explain stuff without being defensive, and I think that is a real trait that he has that it just helps you.
Ethan Charmella, this is the best MSU defense since at least the 2018-19 Bocce Willikis days.
Oh, attic boys.
Bonus, Nick Marsh should be out there more. Nice moments from Alante Brown and Isaiah Johnson. Didn't see Antonio Gates.
So Alante Brown is out for a while. He is out. He is injured, and I think out till at least November. So that was a upper body injury, we were told today. So that's kind of a blow, and they lost Dylan Tatum as well. So that doesn't. I do want to see if we'll see more of Nick Marsh, but it's a reminder that it's a tough deal for young wideouts in terms of understanding where to be and making a difference. I will be surprised though if he doesn't play a decent role in this season at some point.
Jay Riemenschneider, there needs to be cameras in the football and on every yard marker, so there would be no mistakes on where the ball is placed. Bonus. Kieran Adams and Cattell Mullings should be running back 1 at MSU and Michigan. Sorry, Nathan and Donovan. And from Bibby, both of MSU and Michigan's second-team running backs is the actual running back 1. Bonus, Chiles might be more Joe Milton than we thought. Crazy arm, but doesn't change speeds like he should for layering. For layering throws, it's all 90+ MLB or mile per hour fastballs.
Sorry, I didn't edit that as well as I should have. Apologies. I think it's just too soon to have a judgment on Chiles. Other than on day 1, it wasn't overwhelming.
No, let's decide it right now.
Yeah.
He's ass. All right, never mind.
And the thing about running backs is it plays itself out pretty quickly. The more productive guy plays, and so. If what we saw from those 2 games, and I like I said, I don't think Donovan was that very good for Michigan either. If what we saw from those first 2 games is what is, then there will be, you'll see that sort of flip as the season goes.
Corey Ostrom, number 1, the best starting offensive tackles and right guard are yet to be determined. The push needs to be better and consistent. 2, Brian Lindgren didn't show much, and it was purposely called that way. There was not a lot of outside zone runs or tight end passes you see in this offense. And 3, Chiles will be fine. I love the potential with this offense.
Yeah, I don't think they showed much. That's, I don't know how I do think they were trying to hold on to some stuff, but I think as that game got close, they wanted to be efficient, they wanted to be good, and they really weren't. And so this week, you go on the road, you're playing a Big Ten opponent. There's no reason to hold anything back. You struggled the week before. You want to do everything you can and try to be a more functional offense.
Pepe Plum, so after the first game, how long do you predict Jonathan Smith will stay? Days, months, years? I say 12 years and ends up with 113 wins. Just one behind Mark D'Antonio. 9.4 wins per year average. That is acceptable to me.
I would hope so.
Bonus, Michigan fans on Twitter are just trolls and bots. There is no way that any fan base could be so amusingly ignorant.
If he does 12 years and 113 wins and averages 9.4 wins per year, everybody will be dancing. It will be a pure options fest. I'm telling you right now, that is the dream. If anybody wants any more than that, they're crazy. You're not 9.4 wins average per year. That means a lot of years in the playoffs, a lot of years in contention, probably some frustrating years along the way, but a really solid program.
Dark Mantonio, MSU's offensive play calling seems more exciting, aggressive, imaginative than last year. Maybe one of those is the right word, or maybe I'm wrong and just don't watch enough last year. But one thing I do know for sure is that the end results are exactly the same. And bonus, it's only been 1 week, but Georgia is the undisputed top team in the country. Double bonus, Oregon and Michigan, what the hell was that? First week jitters my ass.
Yeah, Oregon didn't look great. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes you just don't know. You think a team's going to be great. Maybe USC's the team out of that side that's really good, and it's not Oregon this year.
And Michigan didn't cover, right?
They did not cover,
20.
and they needed that pick six at the end even to get remotely
that guy
close.
was just dying to throw a pick six, too.
He was.
Good God. Matthew Venny, it's going to take Jonathan Smith at least 2 more off seasons to clean up this medical waste offense left over from Jay Johnson. And bonus, Aidan Chiles won't be MSU's starting quarterback halfway into the season, as he will have been broken in half by then.
The protection wasn't horrible. He is a guy that, I think will run the ball a little more, and so he'll take some hits, and that's why they got Tommy Schuster. But I would be, very surprised if the one thing they need to be careful is he doesn't lose confidence, because that's one of those situations where you do need to sit the guy down for a couple weeks or something. But I think it's way early to be in on that. Let's see this week. Let's see how they respond to this.
Bowman Junkins, we will never have a functional O-line again in my lifetime. And bonus, how many offensive coordinators do we need to run through before someone learns not to run into a fucking stacked box? Haller needs to start screening offensive coordinator candidates.
I knew it would take 1 week. Brian Lindgren on the list. It is impossible to be an offensive coordinator.
Hot seat.
Unless you're Ben Johnson. It's the one guy in the world. Especially at the college level, it is hard to be a coordinator that is universally loved from start to finish. Willing to give a guy week 2, maybe even week 3, maybe even a season,
You're a nicer man than me.
Yeah, I guess so.
Can't right now. Hans Jurgen, Bake Takes. Number 1, Child's passing was erratic as Graham's foreplay. Both are nice guys, though. 2, Tucker and Levitt would have won this game 50-0. And 3, this is the greatest MSU defense since the Kill Bubba Kill Spartans of 66.
Truly done with pure options in the system. Thank you, Hans.
Jake Hawkins at number 1. Hey, BTN. I get that it wasn't the epic blowout or high-scoring game, and that it was an ugly-ass win in Jonathan Smith's debut, but why the fuck do you cut off the post-game interview to start women's volleyball? That's almost a sign of disrespect and a slap in the face. 2, while I'm happy with the hire of Jonathan Smith and excited to see what he can do, I can't help but wonder if they hired my original guy, Mike Elko, MSU attire gear rocking the Gruff Sparty logo, would look good on his pudgy fuck are you talking, Jake? 3, Rejoice Graham, the old crime drama series Homicide, Life on the Street, is now on Peacock. I'll be binge watching that when I can. It sucks though that 4 of the actors on there, Andre Brower, Richard Belzer, Ned Beatty, and Yaphet Kotto, are unfortunately dead and gone.
Appreciate you, Jake. No, to your first point, Jake, on the why they cut away to volleyball. Volleyball does well ratings-wise, number 1. Volleyball, for most of the country, more people would rather be watching college volleyball than Jonathan Smith post-game. I don't know that I would prefer that none of the post-games. I don't like the BTN showing that at all. I mean, that's our access to get, it's not like we're getting him a separate. We don't want giving away all the quotes that we get post-game to the BTN audience. That's just my own feeling. If I knew that was happening, I would have pulled the fucking cord right away and no BTN broadcast for anybody. So
you think airing a press conference, a post-game, is going to ruin readership?
I just don't like it. All right. I mean, unless there's separate stuff for other people. It's just oh, really? I mean, come on. No, I know. It's my own little.
By the way, people that are dead, you know who's not dead? Jimmy Carter. Still in hospice, still kicking.
Doing well.
I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy. Number 1, college refs are ass. 2, I don't want to say it because I know Graham believes it too, but polls before at least week 4 are worthless. And 3, someone's mom has probably used you as a bad example for her kids.
If they listen to this show, and there are several mothers, I'm sure, that don't use that word. Certainly they use the word that we put on a shirt today and talked about for quite a while, probably too long. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for producing our show. Thank you for being there after exciting moments for Michigan State and not great moments and other things going on in sports. You're the best. We hope we'll see you at Midtown Brewing Company on September 14th. This week, we hope you're at the Pure Options Block Party. Should be a fantastic time, 1 to 7 p.m. at the Frandor location. Go to pureoptions.com to get tickets now. BOGO, B-O-G-O, for buy one, get one free. Get your spot. Enjoy the week. It's great having Muskox back. Go to gomuskox.com. The promo code is FIXITINPOST, $15 off your first flannel. We'll be back Wednesday with another show. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.